Hi, and welcome to A25 Logistics. Complimentary $5 water bottles on your left, mindset motivation posters on your right, orb in the corner. Now, you and a group of algorithmically matched co-workers, or friends as you'll be calling them, are going to be managing your very own warehouse together, placing things how you want and where you want. Doesn't that sound like fun? Now, legally I do have to tell you, you're going to be doing all of this work in the dark, because the new coffee machines we installed in the manager's office are hogging up all of the remaining power we have in the budget. But it's okay, you'll be fine, because it is all technically up to code. Just utilize your synergistic partnerships with your mandatory friends to ensure you deliver above target times and satisfactory customer service. You do have customer service experience, don't you? In Wilmot's warehouse, you'll be placing tiles face down on a board and trying to remember where you put them, cooperatively. All business partners will take turns each day being the shift supervisor, where they, one at a time, reveal images from today's pile. When a tile is revealed, you first decide as a synergistic team what the abstract image is. Is this a lock, a coffee, or a handbag? We'll go with coffee, and then you decide where to put it. Well, we had a guy with a pillow here, so maybe he's holding his morning coffee? Tiles must be placed adjacent to other tiles, and remember the no power thing? They go face down. At some points in the video, I'll show them face up, but that's just for illustrative purposes. They always go face down when they're placed. Once all 35 tiles have been placed, yes, 35, you've got to remember them all now in a speed segment that I'll talk about in detail later.
Remember, we write your paycheck.
Wilmot's warehouse resides perfectly in the category of games that I made up called magic trick games. And don't worry, leperophobiacs, there's no rabbit in this bag. I'm talking about the type of game that presents you and a group of players with a task that feels like it should be impossible. In this case, remembering the exact position of 35 abstract symbols on this grid. But here's the magic trick, it is doable. It's so much more doable than you first might think. And that's because this is a real memory technique. This is a mind palace. If you know the position of any given object on this grid, you know what the objects around it are because of the story you made. And then you know the objects around those, and the objects around those, and so on. And when you're in the customer phase, and you're drawing one by one through those customer cards, and you finally see one that you recognize, you're gonna feel like a magician when you instantly place that in the right spot without even thinking about it.
Remember, we're one big family here. I'm your dad.
I want to tell you about the tiles in this game, because I think this is one of the most clever aspects in the game. You see, this is based off a video game of the same name, which also uses ambiguous symbols. But in that game, you're sorting things, and in the board game, you're creating a story. So to accommodate this, there is one fundamental change in the way the ambiguity works. Whereas in the video game, there's category ambiguity. Should I put this in my toys zone or in my liquids zone? But the board game's icons strive for object ambiguity. Is this a blaring alarm, a saw blade, or a sunset? What makes sense given the story we have in front of us? This is what I think is so clever, because if this were unmistakably, say, a saw blade, well, what if a saw blade doesn't fit into the story you have in front of you that involves frolicking and a field and bunnies? Sorry, leperophobiacs. This allows every player to feel clever when they come up with something that this could represent that perfectly slots into the story you have in front of you, thereby making the task for everyone just that bit easier. It's great because it forces you to be creative and problem solve your way out of limitations instead of just unfairly railroading you down a certain path. And it really makes you feel like you as a group created the story, not just the tiles and the game itself. This leads to wonderful moments where someone goes, I guess this can be his legs here? And someone else goes, well, I mean, it could be like a couch he's sitting on or something. And someone else goes, oh, wait, it's a worm, he likes worms. And now you remember him as the guy who likes worms. And even tiles that feel so obviously something, like this is so obviously golf. any sane person would see this and go, oh yeah, that's golf. So in one of our games, we interpreted it as a death laser coming from the sky, the very sky itself opening up and shooting a laser out, that's the sun, and it was smiting just one guy in particular. And so now this is the axe-wielding blonde guy who likes worms and God hates.
Remember, did a coworker get you sick? Great, no need to take time off, just only work with them.
When you're placing tiles, they do have to go adjacent to previously placed tiles, which is great because it forces you to build on what you have, instead of just placing a tile somewhere and hoping you'll figure it out later. But this does mean that when you place a tile, it does need to make some semblance of sense so that you can remember it for later. But even when it kind of doesn't, it usually becomes a little more logical through the way the game allows you to slowly focus the lens on exactly what type of story you're telling here. Is this a timeline that progresses from left to right? Is this a top-down view of a map? Is this a snapshot of a single moment in time? Likely, it's a weird blend of all three, but a blend in only a way that the players at the table understand. A language that all of you speak. A weird, hilarious language that speaks to your collective friendship and creativity. I can still recall the board we made that involved a very evil farmer stealing honey from bees secretly to sell for profit, or a board that involved a battle between a beaver king and some fruits, but we also had like a timeline down the side that showed like the series of events that had happened up to that point. And also the board where we had a cat set off a Rube Goldberg machine that was meant for someone's birthday. You will create weird stories, you will develop intense lore, and it will be funny. But you will remember it. Create stories to remember is written on the side of the box, and while that is a very clever pun, it's also so true, not just for the purposes of remembering where all the tiles are for the end of the game, but also just for remembering a fun time you had with your friends. And if that isn't what board games are for, I don't know what is.
Remember, union sounds like onion because they make me cry. Don't make me cry.
I have left out a pretty crucial part of the game though, and it's these mandatory idea cards. These are the salt to the game's unsalted meal. You see, they happen on every day that isn't Monday, and they add a little condition to that day. Maybe you have to rotate the board 90 degrees every time you place a tile. Maybe you can only speak in one-syllable words. Maybe you have to put your thumb over the center of the tile, thereby obstructing what it truly is. And I probably don't have to explain to you how that makes this game great. Trying to explain to your friends in one-syllable words that this is nitrogen gas coming out of someone's lungs into the atmosphere is effortlessly funny. Air part out of lung from man in sky. But there's more. These are the harder mandatory idea cards for if you want to bump up the challenge even more. And these include stuff like the shift supervisor is the only one that's allowed to look at a tile and only has one word to describe what it is, or of course one where you just can't talk at all. And this reminds me of one of my favorite moments in the game where my partner was trying to explain to us that this is the non-binary flag because it's the non-binary flag's colors, and it should go next to the elf because the elf should be non-binary without talking, was one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me, as each one of us slowly caught on one by one and then tried to, purely through gestures, explain that concept to everyone else at the table before we all finally agreed. Magical.
Remember, overtime pay is not in the employee dictionary.
This all builds up to one final moment. Start a timer, it's the order fulfillment phase. This is where every man and some dogs are going to ask for every item that could possibly exist. Now, you guys don't have every item in your warehouse. Not even close, which is crazy given how much we pay you. But either way, you're going to search through the deck however you would like to find the tiles you need to find and place them in the right spots. You can do this however you want. Search through them like a deck, fan through them and pick out the ones you recognize. Grab a stack, throw them across the board, and hope you got it right. Either way, when you're all done, say stop the timer, and then flip over each of your items to check that you got them right. It's a 10-second time penalty if you got them wrong. You'll end up with a final score that doesn't really mean much. I mean, you get to watch that funny video depending on which bracket you achieved, and it is kind of fun to beat your high score, but honestly, I don't think the game really cares if you do. I mean, it doesn't scale with player count. It's straight up easier to get a faster time with more people just because there's more hands and more minds at the table. But I don't think that's what the game is trying to achieve. It knows you had a good time, it knows you laughed, and it knows you want to pretend that that number means something. So it lets you play in the space.
Remember, HR is busy right now.
The game just has a great sense of humor to it. Some of the names on the mandatory ideas cards make me laugh. The opening page of the rulebook just says, "Congratulations, you work here." The videos that you get have a great vibe to them. They absolutely nailed that. And the bag is Wilmot's face. The bag is Wilmot's face. It's a good bag, it feels nice, works well, it's Wilmot's face. My god, can I get someone in here to clean this? Thank you. I don't know, I just really like the game. It does a good job of being a really stupid party game while still feeling like it means something. I just can't get this game out of my head. I gotta remember. I can't get it out of my... I've gotta remember. Can't remember.